Kendrick Lamar didn't just win his beef with Drake, he dismantled him piece by piece and proved something bigger, that in hip-hop, authenticity will always outlast the facade. From day one, Kendrick stayed true. No gimmicks, no fake storylines, no forced image, just raw storytelling reflecting the world he came from. And ironically, Drake actually started the same way. Early Drake was seen as one of the most genuine new artists in rap. He wasn't pretending to be anyone else, and he was just Aubrey from Toronto, rapping about heartbreak, ambition, and the struggles of finding himself. Even Lil Wayne, the man who put Drake on, saw this clearly.
The greatest advice Wayne has ever given me, and it's a constant, it's less of advice and more of a constant reminder, which I love him so much for saying this to me, is, he's always just like, man, please be yourself. Please don't ever try and be me or anybody else.
That advice should have been Drake's North Star, always be yourself. But as his fame grew, that compass went missing. And here's the crazy part, Kendrick and Drake weren't always on opposite sides. Early in their careers, they actually collaborated. Kendrick appeared on Drake's album Take Care, and they both spoke about their shared love for the culture. Back then, there was mutual respect. Both were seen as young lyricists carrying hip-hop into a new era, but while Kendrick stayed rooted in that mission, Drake's path slowly drifted. The real shift happened after the Meek Mill beef. Let's rewind to that moment. In 2015, Meek Mill accused Drake of using a ghostwriter. That accusation could have destroyed his career. In hip-hop, not writing your own rhymes is almost unforgivable. But Drake turned the tables. He came back with Back to Back, one of the most lethal diss tracks in modern rap history. It was catchy, brutal, and meme-worthy, something Meek couldn't match. Drake didn't just win the beef, he turned Meek into a punchline. But with that victory came something else, arrogance. Drake's win gave him a sense of invincibility. From that point on, his music, his persona, even his interviews started to feel different. The once relatable rapper with clever wordplay now walked like a man untouchable. And slowly he began building a persona that leaned deeper into gangster imagery, mob boss aesthetics, and street credibility. But here's the problem, nobody really bought it. Drake wasn't raised in the streets. He grew up in one of Toronto's wealthiest neighborhoods, raised by a mother who lived in an upscale area. He got his start on Degrassi playing a high school kid in a wheelchair. His background was middle class, safe, and comfortable, and there's nothing wrong with that. But hip-hop fans could see through the sudden shift into a hardened street persona. It started to feel like Drake was cosplaying hip-hop culture rather than living it.
Do you have like your words up there that kind of funky and weird?
The guys at our school, instead of addressing people like a group, like saying like, what are you guys doing? Say man's like you. It's really weird. Yeah, so man's like you are going to that, and then just means like a group.
Crew. That's interesting.
It's not. It's really ignorant.
That clip resurfaced later and hit hard because this was Drake literally clowning Toronto slang, only to turn around years later and suddenly embrace the same accent like it had always been a part of him. To many fans, it looked like he was cherry-picking pieces of culture when it suited him. One day mocking, the next day profiting. For casual listeners who just wanted hits, this didn't matter. But to the core hip-hop audience, to the older heads who value authenticity, this was everything.
And I just think personally he's a corny guy.
For years, Charlemagne the God and countless others represented the skepticism around Drake. He was a pop superstar, no doubt. He had hits on hits, he dominated the charts, and he redefined how streaming could elevate an artist. But inside hip-hop, inside the culture, the respect was never fully there. Meanwhile, Kendrick became the anti-Drake, the spokesman for everything Drake wasn't, because Kendrick wasn't putting on an act. He grew up in Compton, one of the most legendary and dangerous rap cities in America. Compton is tied to the DNA of hip-hop. NWA, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, The Game. It's a city that embodies the realness of rap culture. Kendrick wasn't imitating that story, he lived it.
You know what I'm saying? When you come from any part of the ghetto, I've been to Compton my whole life. I just started traveling to be 100 with you. So it's nothing else outside of that. When I say we didn't have a Caucasian kid from elementary, middle school to high school, I never seen one. I'm serious.
That's Kendrick describing his reality, a childhood shaped by poverty, gang culture, and the kind of environment Drake only rapped about from a safe distance. Raised around gang culture, violence, and poverty, Kendrick didn't have to pretend. His music was storytelling directly from the environment he came from, and his mission wasn't to become the biggest pop star in the world. His mission was to tell truths about himself, about his community, about America, That difference between purpose and performance is what separated Kendrick from Drake in the eyes of real hip-hop fans. And for years, tension was building. Drake's image kept shifting, becoming more like a caricature of a mob boss rapper, and Kendrick kept sharpening his pen, reminding people that he could bar anyone out if he wanted to. So, when the beef finally exploded, Kendrick came in like a man who had been waiting for this moment his entire career. He didn't just drop one diss track, he rolled out a series of records in a calculated, almost military-like sequence. Every song had a different purpose. One picked apart Drake's character, another mocked his public image, another exposed his insecurities. Kendrick came with layers, strategies, and precision. It was the complete opposite of Drake's approach. Drake fired back with a couple of records, but they felt rushed, reactionary, and surface level. He leaned on rumors, whisper campaigns about Kendrick's family life and alleged domestic issues, but none of that hit with the same impact because there was no proof. Kendrick, meanwhile, had proof. He had years of material, old clips, and cultural ammunition, and most importantly, he had the audience on his side. Drake's career definitely took a hit, but while we're talking about hits, hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel grow so I can keep bringing you videos just like this, because here's where things got brutal. The defining moment came with Not Like Us. This wasn't just a diss track, this was an anthem. From the very first line, Kendrick framed Drake as an outsider, someone who doesn't belong. And when the West Coast, from rappers to DJs to fans in the streets, rallied behind the song, it became more than music, it became a statement. Not Like Us wasn't just about Kendrick versus Drake, it was about authenticity versus imitation. It was about the streets of Compton and the Bronx versus the gated communities of Toronto. It was about culture versus commerce, and Drake knew it. Because for every accusation he tried to throw, Kendrick had 5 counterpunches lined up. He made Drake look like a man drowning under the weight of his own contradictions. Think about it. Drake's biggest controversies over the years were always tied to authenticity. Ghostwriting allegations, flow stealing, accent switching, persona flipping. These wasn't new stories. They had been following him his whole career, and Kendrick dragged every single one back into the spotlight, while presenting himself as the complete opposite. And that's why Not Like Us hit so hard, because it captured what people already felt. Drake isn't one of us, he's not like us, he can make hits, he can dominate charts, he can even crush pop stars in a feud, but when it comes to the heart of hip-hop culture, he will never be embraced as the authentic face of it. Meanwhile, Kendrick doesn't need to dominate Billboard every month, he doesn't need to chase every trend or switch accents for streams, he just needs to speak his truth and the culture listens. And that's the real reason Kendrick Lamar won the beef, not because of one clever bar, or one viral moment, or even just one track. He won because this battle wasn't about music, it was about legacy. Drake's legacy has always carried an asterisk, built on mimicry, reinvention, and performance. Kendrick's legacy is built on authenticity, honesty, and connection to the roots of hip-hop. And in the long run, authenticity always wins. If you made it to the end, drop a comment. Do you think Drake can ever recover his reputation after this beef, or is it over for him? And don't forget to subscribe, it really helps the channel grow so I can keep bringing you deep dives like this.